So this lesson is about health, which is very important to understand because the whole premise of this model is that the human species is going through a period of disease, of disorder, having a disorder. So therefore, we must understand what health is and how does that apply, and it is really helpful to define it. One way I find more helpful than the other, we can say in everything, there is a form and there's a function. There is a structure, and then the function is more of the forces that operate in that. So understanding health from a structural perspective is just about needs. The needs in the system are met. There's no need in the system is being deprived, like your body. All the different pieces are getting what they need and it's operating. And that's simple and straightforward way to understand health. But I find it's much more helpful. That can be useful, but the functional way of understanding health, form and function, or structure and function, is really, really helpful. So function really means that all of the pieces of it, their relationships to each other, how they affect each other, they're either supportive or neutral. And then it's in a state of health, So that's really it. But there is an interesting phenomenon. This is very important to understand, that when we look at systems, we can see inside them there are internal destructive forces. Things are being destroyed inside systems. I'll give you a simple example. If I eat a banana, that banana goes into me, I chew it up, it gets in there, it gets really destroyed within the system, It becomes a part of my system when I eat it, but then it gets destroyed, it gets torn apart and used for other stuff. But that is what we will call a healthy internal destructive force. It is actually destructive, but it is having a healthy impact on the system. Whereas we could see an unhealthy internal destructive force would be if I had, maybe some terrible disease that was just destroying my body, and that would be an unhealthy internal destructive force. Then you can see it, of course, as I said, health applies across all systems. So we can look at all systems and apply the concept of health. So, for example, in a car, the petrol is in there, petrol is being destroyed. It's an internal destructive force in the car, and it's giving it energy, and that is a healthy internal destructive force in the car. But we might see if there was a part of the engine that was leaking, was melting or overheating and then melting it, and it was destroying a part of the thing, that would be an unhealthy internal destructive force. So it's interesting how it applies across systems. Now, one of the reasons why this is so helpful is it helps us to understand one of the paradoxes when we look at natural systems as human beings. We look at them through our lens, but natural systems don't operate through our lens. They got their own way of understanding what's going on, got their own thing going on. So we can think of a natural system, maybe savanna, and you got, lions, and you got gazelles and all kinds of other stuff going on, right? And you might think that, one day a lion is trying to, efficiently, as best it can, capture a gazelle through various strategies, because the lion has very strict, a very serious pressure on it around energy consumption. So it has to do this as efficiently as possible. And it catches a gazelle, and it rips the gazelle's throat. And after a few minutes, the gazelle dies, and then it eats the gazelle, which from our perspective looks quite vicious, But that is 100% for a natural system, a healthy internal destructive force. Because it's having a healthy, obviously, if that force wasn't occurring, then natural selection couldn't occur, and the system couldn't evolve, and it would just stop existing. It would just kind of fall apart, and So it's a healthy internal destructive force. It's not some vicious, crazy, wild thing happening. It's not an unhealthy thing from the system, and that's important. And therefore, we can see lots of other things that go on in natural systems, like. I don't need to get into stuff too much, but maybe those are more refined topics. But basically, that's a helpful way to understand health in systems, and how we can understand natural systems from that perspective, and how we can look at the human species and see the destructive forces that are occurring within it, and say, are they healthy? Are they benefiting the species? Are they, you know, positive things that are happening? And I think, obviously not. Obviously not. It's just wreck and ruin and illness. But as I said, the interesting thing is that because we're outside of a natural system, the human species can be extremely ill, extremely disordered and unwell and self-destructive, unhealthy self-destructive forces, and persist. If we were in a natural system, a species like that would be, gone within a generation, it'd just be out of it. But that's not how it works in natural systems. If there was one part of the species that started going down that road, well, that part would be deselected for within a generation, or maybe a little longer. I don't know. Depends. But it would certainly be deselected and gone. But because we are not in a natural system anymore, our species can be really unwell, really sick, really self-destructive in a whole bunch of ways, and it will persist. And that's what's happened for the past 10,000 years. And now is the time, because really, if we continue down this path, our ability of self-destructiveness now has gone to the point that we can just obliterate ourselves as a species through a multiple of ways. So we have to kind of learn how to self-regulate correctly. And there's a lot to that. There's a lot of different factors to be put in place to figure that out. But that's the puzzle that faces us. But as I said, that's the puzzle we are designed to solve, over and over again in many different aspects and areas.